it's live.
Salakia, will we be able to go to the screen?
Yeah.
All right, Most High in Christ. So we live now? All right, this is the Israelite School of the Universal and Practical Knowledge under Commander General Yohana. And we have been called to teach the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that we are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And tonight's class is the Brotherhood Class. And there's a lot of holidays, you know, that are passing, that are coming up, this, that, and the fourth. But, you know, this Thursday is Thanksgiving. I almost said Halloween. But this Thursday is, you know, Thanksgiving. Salaki, it's two of them. So if you go to the other one, if you wanted to go to that one, it is still work. I'm not sure why it's only on that one, but Salakia. So
why is it showing like that for Delaware?
I'm not sure why it's showing for that. But maybe we can go to ISUPK online classes. You have to pick both of them. It might be having two classes. Salakia, y'all. We just got to get something straight. No sweat. All right, but you know, Thanksgiving is something that people they love to celebrate, and every year we talk about this. But by now, you know, after the mistreatment of, you know, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we shouldn't be concerned with celebrating Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the celebration of the North American Indians being conquered. That's what it is. It's not about coming together and celebrating, you know, everything that you're thankful for, you know, from God. Because God has those high holy days in the scriptures that he's let us know that we can, you know, partake in, that he's commanding us to partake in. So on one hand, you have it to where God is saying that I want you to keep these high holy days forever throughout your generations. He's commanding us to do it, and then we don't keep it. But on the other hand, the heathenistic holidays that are being celebrated, you know, by our oppressor, we decided to celebrate those without having, you know, any type of regard for what the Most High said. I'm gonna start off with a scripture, and then I want to read a little bit of something about out of this book that I'm gonna you know, bring out. But let me get to it real quick, if I could. Salakia, bear with me one moment. All right, so this is Revelations 11 and 10, and this goes with Christmas, Thanksgiving, and any other holiday that celebrates the demise of our people. And I'm gonna get to it in the scriptures. Just give me 1 second. All right. So this is the book of Revelations, chapter 11 and verse 10. It says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them. This is talking about them rejoicing over the fact that they were able to overcome them. Every single year that we celebrate Thanksgiving is the fact that the North American Indian was able to be overcome by an oppressor that has put our people in slavery, a people that has, you know, raped our children, a people that has taken away our heritage, a people that has taken away our language, a people that has taken away every single thing that would make us a nation, that would make us, you know, more than human, something that would make us whole. Because right now, Blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans are not whole. We live in the land of our oppressor. If you look at the way things are set up, we don't have the freedom that we should have. The only reason why you're allowed to do anything in this country is because the oppressor allows it. And it's not out of love, it's so the oppressor can make money. The scriptures say, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which means the love of money is the greed. So the only reason why you're able to do what you're able to do in this country is simply because the oppressor allows it so they can make money. The oppressor wants you celebrating a holiday that is the degradation of his people so that they can make money. Nobody buys turkeys throughout the year. I can't remember the last time, you know, I bought a turkey, you know, outside of Thanksgiving when I was in the world. There's nothing more just ridiculous than celebrating the and the sounds all good.
Yeah.
Most High in Christ. There's nothing more ridiculous than celebrating the demise of your own people. Revelations 11:10 says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them. The oppressor is rejoicing over the fact that they've overcome us, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another. This don't that sound just like Christmas, which is coming up, which our people are going to celebrate, even though they don't make enough money to keep every single bill on. Even though we don't have enough money in our communities to make sure when something breaks that we can get it fixed. Like, if you live in an apartment complex, you know how many times you've had to go to that heathen landlord and ask them to fix something that just isn't getting fixed. There was a sister that was that had Child Protective Services called on her for roaches in her apartment complex when it was the landlord's fault. And when she asked the landlord to fix it, he dragged his feet. How come Child Protective Services isn't being called on the landlord? Because the mother is doing her due diligence. But we're going to go and celebrate their holidays. It is their holidays. We're not realizing that these are their holidays. Christmas is something that has been celebrated in the way it's celebrated now, but before Christ even died on the cross. I'll get back to the scripture. And shall send gifts to one another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on earth. All right, let me go ahead and read out of this book real quick from Michael Bradley.
Yeah, I read it.
Oh, Most High in Christ.
You got to walk it over.
All right, no sweat, no sweat. All right, we can start at with the last paragraph. Because what we don't realize is we continue to celebrate these people's holidays, and the way they treated us today is the way they've treated us in times past. Right now, the Jewish man is over in Israel, and they're at war with the Palestinians, and it's being called a genocide. But before there was ever a genocide in Palestine, there was a genocide in North America. And we're about to celebrate and give credence to a people that have done the same thing over and over again. And I'm not separating the two. I'm not separating the United States from Israel. Salakia Adawan, if you could read that.
No sweat. This is out of the book Chosen People from the Caucasus by Michael Bradley. Jewish Origins, Delusions, Deceptions, and Historical Role in the Slave Trade, Genocide, and Cultural Colonization.
And if I could, just really quick, this is an oppressor that wrote this book. This is not something the ISUPK has written. This is something that we've known based off the scriptures, but for those who need a more carnal approach, these words should reach your ears and help you understand how evil this people has been to us. Salaki Adawan.
Many, this is page 17 at the last paragraph. Many of the conquistadors were Jewish.
So what that is saying is, when you hear about conquistadors that have destroyed all of Latin America in times past, when you hear about the conquistadors that have come over to, North America as well, you'll realize that these people were not only what we would call Caucasian white Americans today, but were also the Jewish people. Salakia.
And as such took part in the most brutal episode of genocide and extermination the world has ever witnessed.
So this is one of the things that the world, like, historians know how bad that this is, and it talks about it in the scriptures, because you have a historical point of view that is secular, and then you have a biblical point of view. You can trust that biblical point of view more than you can trust the secular, but you can see it is saying that this is one of the most horrific things to ever happen in man's history. And that's lumping up what happened to the North American Indians and the transatlantic slave trade. And Salaki, if you could.
No sweat. Has ever witnessed. Within a century of 1492, the Native American civilizations had been destroyed and the population decimated by enslavement, starvation, and disease. When Native American labor grew scarce because of genocide, Africans were forced into the New World tropics to slave in the mines and on plantations.
And Salaki, we can drop it right there if I could. I'm gonna read Daniel 9 and 12 because this talked about in this book that was written by an oppressor. He recognized the fact that this was one of the worst things that had happened in mankind's history. The reason why this oppressor is saying that is because he's done his research and he didn't have to fall under critical race theory. I believe Michael Bradley, if I'm not mistaken, he's no longer here. He's dead. But before there was a critical race theory, he was doing his due diligence and his research to find out about who he thinks is his enemy. And he brought unbiased research to the table. And he said that what's happened to the North American Indian and what has happened to us is one of the worst things that happened. And I believe in that book, it talks about how Christopher Columbus is the one who kicked off the two worst things that have happened in the world. But in Daniel 9 and 12, Salaki, I don't want, for the sake of time, I'll go ahead and read it. It says, and he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us. We're going to get into our judges, but what this is talking about is the Most High spoke against us and said, stop sinning, just to keep it simple. And the people that were over us, he spoke against them because right now, who's over us? Even though the oppressor is over us, we have, lifted up leaders that are absolutely ridiculous. Even though the oppressor is over us, we have lifted up people who literally have no regard for our well-being, who see what we go through every day. How can our leaders tell us to stop celebrating Thanksgiving and everything else if they're the ones that are going to participate in what the devil has given them? Daniel 9 and 12 says, and he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. The Most High says, stop sinning or you are going to be cursed, and the unimaginable is going to happen. It says, for under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. There is nothing worse that has ever happened to a people that has happened to us. And when I say us, I'm talking about Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We have leaders that are in power right now that have wealth, funds, who have even some sort of, what would I say, political, power as far as what they could get politicians to do or here and there, and they do nothing with it. If I could, sir, there's a video. If you will be able to play this, it's Kirk Franklin, and he's talking about it's the one where he calls Abraham a liar. I believe he calls Abraham a liar. If we could just play that really quick.
All right, no sweat.
Most High in Christ.
Dancing Strange.
No, I think I put two up there.
God still used to you.
I believe
God still use you.
That's it right there. Because the reason why, and I hear it over and over again, and it's confirmed every single time. Like, the Christian church is the reason why we celebrate the holidays that dishonor us. The North American Indian was slaughtered, but we're going to sit at a table and pretend that it's giving thanks to God, and God is looking at it like a disgusting holiday. Sir, if you could, the water.
Abraham was a liar. Noah, an alcoholic. Job doubted God several times. Samson was promiscuous. David was a hoe and a murderer. Elijah was suicidal. Peter was embarrassed to let folk know he knew Jesus. Rahab, prostitute. The disciples. Abraham was a liar. Noah, an alcoholic. Job doubted God several times. Samson was promiscuous. David was a hoe and a murderer. Elijah was suicidal. Peter was embarrassed to let folk know he knew Jesus. Rahab, prostitute. The disciples often were weak, jealous of each other, and even fell asleep on Jesus the night he was arrested. The Samaritan woman couldn't even keep
There isn't AI. Let's go to the next video. I believe this to be true. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. The essence of what this is this okay to be a sinner? There isn't AI. Let's go to the next video. I believe this to be true. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Salaki, if we could turn that. The essence of what this is. Yeah, the essence of what this actually is saying it's okay to be these things because God will still accept you. How can we stop from sinning against the Most High if we're going to continue to be in the lane that TD Jakes or Creflo Dollar or Kirk Franklin? Kirk Franklin, he gives off a Salakia, sir. Am I wrong in thinking that Kirk Franklin has a feminine spirit with him? Am I wrong in thinking that?
Nah.
Am I wrong in thinking that there is some sort of homosexuality that's written on Kirk Franklin's face?
Yeah, Kirk Franklin definitely is a homosexual.
Because the type of spirit that he brings to his followers is the fact that you can continue to live in sin. The fact that you can continue to be in a place to where the Most High doesn't want you to be, but you'll be accepted by the Most High. But in 1 John 3 and 4, it says, whoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. You can't continue to go against the Most High. You can't be a homosexual and make it into the kingdom of heaven. The scriptures say that in the New Testament. You can't be a unaliver. You can't be a pedophile. You can't be somebody who is going to lead your people into damnation and think that the Most High is going to be okay with it. And if I'm not mistaken, every single person that he named in those scriptures had to pay for what they did. They had to pay some sort of, from the Most High. The Most High had something happen to them to let you know that what they did was wrong. But if we could play that other video with him prancing around what looks to be in thick high heels, if we could, Salakia. The nerves that call somebody in the Bible a hoe.
I thought this was a reunion tour. We're supposed to be doing old school music.
Good night. Yeah, we can go ahead and stop the video. Good Lord. Like, how can we expect any sort of righteousness from, and I'm talking Most High's righteousness. How can we expect to be told the right thing from somebody that's going to prance around on stage with the spirit of an effeminate, just money hoarding deviant? Like, he comes off as a sexual deviant to me. I don't know if it's too much that's come out about him. I know TD Jakes was said to have been at Diddy parties, so you already know what's going on with him. But you could see it written all over him. Yeah. If I
could, that's I don't think there's really at this point in the game. I don't think that there's any pastors that's out there that's not either effeminate or just a straight up homosexual. That's not saying every pastor is effeminate or homosexual, but I would say the bigger part of the percentage of pastors that's out there today in 2025 is homosexual, or they have an effeminate spirit, because of course, like, the church is effeminate. You know what I mean? As a institution, it's an effeminate institution. That's why the killers ain't gone in there. You know what I mean? The niggas from the hood ain't going to church. Church is full of homosexuals and women. That's it. And the pastor, that's why he has flowers and stuff like that up on the altar. He dresses the way he dressed, because that's for women. It's not for men, because a lot of these women that are in the church are single women. And these pastors understand that it's a scripture I wanted to pull. It's called Silly Women. It's Silly Women led Silly Women.
Led captive.
I'm gonna pull that up real quick.
Silly Women led captive.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get that for you.
It's the Silly Women. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Khan out of one Khan. That's I believe 2 Timothy.
Yeah, it could be.
Let me get that.
Salaki, I don't mean to hold you up.
No, you too wild. As much as you want to say,
and that's how these pastors are, and this is what the scriptures been telling us. Like, you know, every time I get up there and I teach, I always say that what the Bible does is it teaches us how to act in certain situations. It teaches us how to deal with other nations. It makes us whole again. You know what I mean? And one of the things, if you read the scriptures and you see the problem that Christ had, one of his biggest problems that Christ ever had was with the Sadducees and the Pharisees. You see what I'm saying? Because which would be the religious leaders of that time.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing today. It's these same dudes who get up there, and there's a lot of people that think Kurt Franklin is a man of God. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. Because this is perfect what you're saying. If I could, I'm going to start at verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, or Salakia. This is 2 Timothy, chapter 3, and verse 4. It says, traitors, heedy, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God.
Right.
Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof.
Right. Uh-huh.
From such turn away. For this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins.
Right. Because remember, the church is always going to play to what you like to do. You know, like in the church, it's like it's like things that like I've been, asked or told from people that's in the church, like they don't see it as, they're not being taught these things that are wrong, because what church does is it caters to your lust, meaning like it's a 90-10 rule, right? 90% of what you want to do, 10% tithes. You see what I'm saying? So the trade-off is always going to be better, because if you're telling me that God loves me no matter what I do, that's giving me the 90%. All I got to do is pay you 10, and you're giving me what I want. Right. You're giving me the type of God that really would relate to the kinds of sins that I like to commit. Then this is the church that I should go to. You see what I'm saying? And that's the trade-off. Right. And so this is why they creep into silly women's houses, because think of this, and I don't want to take up too much of the time, but think about this. Why is there so many, when I see a guy that's a Jehovah's Witness, I immediately know that his wife answered the door. See what I'm saying? Like, while he was at work, his wife answered the door and let these Jehovah's Witnesses in. They then told her about all the wonderful workings of Jehovah. And now when he comes home, she says, hey, I was talking to these very interesting ladies or these people today, and they was telling me about all of this stuff, man. I think we should go check it out. And him being, the supportive husband, happy wife, happy life, he goes down to one of the meetings to the Kingdom Hall. And next thing you know, both of them standing out there, on a street corner telling people about Jehovah's return.
Right.
But that scripture, says it all right there.
This is perfect, because they're like you said, like the church is for, women, and it's for effeminate men at this point. And there are older people that have, stayed in the church, and decided that, you know, this is where it's supposed to be. But there's not a place that you can go right now on this earth that's going to give you the truth like ISUPK, because even the fake Israelite groups are turning into the Christian church. And these people are traitors and high-minded and lovers of pleasure. They like you broke it down perfect. I believe it was a conversation, and I was like, wow. I said, why would these people decide to continue to teach outside of the truth that are in these Israelite groups? And you was like, because they want power. These pastors, they know they're teaching something wrong, but they want that power. They want those funds. And for the love of money is the root of all evil. I'm gonna go to John 8:44, if I could, because right now what we're seeing is our leaders are following the format of the rulers of this world. The rulers of this world are evil. The scriptures say the world has been given into the hand of the wicked. Who is actually ruling right now? Like Donald Trump sits in the seat of the leader of the free world right now. And wickedness is written all over his resume. You really want to celebrate Thanksgiving and act like it's a good thing to do with him? Like, Donald Trump has 34 felonies. Donald Trump was held liable for sexual abuse. Donald Trump is being accused of being a pedophile, and he literally sits in the highest seat of rulership on this earth right now. Whether you consider him to be a puppet or not, there is not somebody that sits in that presidential seat and they're not seen as a king on earth. But yet and still, just like they think TD Jakes is a man or I keep saying TD Jakes because him and Kirk Franklin are one and the same. Who knows what they do behind closed doors? Salakia. But Kirk Franklin, they're saying that he's a man of God, but how? What are you actually doing to show you're a man of God? Saying it is not good enough because you don't live it. You can see by the clothes that you're wearing, by the movements by the spirit that you have on it, you don't live it. But if you can just look into the scriptures and see what they're saying in John, you'll understand that even though Kirk Franklin might be a liberal, he's still following his father, the devil. And I'm gonna get some. I'll go ahead, sir.
You know, if I could, it goes back to like what Christ was saying about, you know, if you were of the world would love his own. Like, this is why, you know, Donald Trump is the president, because he's of the world. Like, he's a great representation of what America is today.
Right.
This is why, like, the old way of politics, it doesn't work anymore, you know, because they didn't have anything for Donald Trump. You see what I'm saying? So he represents how America is today. The same thing with like, what's his name? The dude that's dancing.
Kirk Franklin.
Kirk Franklin. And this is why he's accepted, is because he represents America today.
Right.
2025 is lust-filled, is very you know, accepting of all types of things. You know, there's nothing really bridled in the Christian religion. Everything is pretty much do as thou wilt. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? And you know, and so this is why these people are in a place where they're at, because the world loves its own. You know what I mean? So, you know, to see you know, Kirk Franklin and, you know, with all the stuff coming out. I mean, I remember the general brought it out that he talked about his he had a porn addiction. And he talked about how,
I do remember that.
Yeah, he talked about how he drove like I think it was like all these miles away. I don't know how many miles it was. Don't get me just saying anything, but I know it was a long way. And they throw his porn away, and he threw it away, and he went home. And I remember the general said, "What do you think he did when he got home?" He turned around and went all the way back, got it, and went back and took it back home. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, Christianity does not have the answers that you need or the tools that you need to be equipped with to fight those demons, because they don't have the truth and they are of the world. You know what I mean? Slagia.
If we could just read that real quick, because
the book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father, the devil.
Ye are of your father, the devil, means that person that's over you, you're doing what they want. Like a son wants to be just like his father. Like it was like a lot of fathers don't even understand the way that their sons see them. And this is on the other hand, just to explain what this is. When you have a son, you're like a superhero in his eyes. But if you turn it on the flip side, all the evil and the wicked that's going on earth from these leaders, our oppressors, the devil, our people want to be like that because they're like a superhero in their eyes. They do all these things on earth and no punishment comes to them. They have riches that are unimaginable. When I take, road trips and I have to go places and I have to, pass by certain, neighborhoods, I see the wealth of these people. The wealth of our oppressor is something out of a movie. It's something out of a movie. You got people that have 4-car garage. I don't even want to say 4-car garages because that's light nowadays. But you have people that have millions and billions of dollars, and the way they got it was just pure evil. They're a person that is involved in, pedophilia. But Salaki, if we could read that one more time from the top, sir.
John 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do.
The devil that it's talking about is this oppressor on earth. That's what it's talking about. It's not talking about somebody that is under the earth in fire with a pitchfork and horns. That's not what it's talking about. What this is talking about is they were in Rome, correct? They were in Rome. And what it's talking about is at that time, there were Israelites that were doing the bidding of the Roman Empire. So right now we have our people, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and they're involved in ICE. They're involved in the police force. And I noticed it's some, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American brothers that may be police, and they're going through it because they're conflicted. But there's a lot of our people who decide to do the will of their father, the devil. And if you celebrate Thanksgiving, you're doing the will of your father, the devil. There's no reason for you to like Black people make up so many crazy things. Like we make up the most interesting, like whether it comes to dance, music, this, that, and the fourth. We can't come up with something of our own where we're going to have like just a big event where we do a tailgate with just 1,000 chicken wings. We can't do something to where we have something great to where, and it's not rooted in the destruction of our own people. But no, we decide that, this oppressor gives us a day off on this day. We're going to do the will of our father, the devil. I want to read something to y'all because I was doing my research on the heroes of this oppressor. And I'm going to read a couple of them. Let me see if I could find what I put in my notes. If I could really quick. Let me see. You got Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great in the scriptures, he's talked about as somebody that's horrible. Alexander the Great was a homosexual. In history, from a Caucasian perspective, they think of Alexander as just some great hero. You got Columbus, who is literally the one who kicked off the destruction of the North American Indian and the slave trade. You have Davy Crockett, who is seen as some, adventurer that conquered the great outdoors, but really Davy Crockett was fighting for white supremacy, and he was unalived at what's that called when Mexican and Blacks got together? The Alamo. Davy Crockett was turned into a pack at the Alamo by Blacks and Hispanics who fought to make sure they didn't have slavery in Mexico. And then last but not least, you have Emperor Nero. Let me read you a little bit about Emperor Nero. And this is who history deems as some type of great man. The Roman Emperor Nero had a young slave boy named Sporus that was castrated, and then he married him in public at a ceremony and treated him as a wife. This is something that is documented in history. It says this occurred around 67 AD, a couple years after the death of his second wife. So if you see the date that's there, it says 67 AD. The Roman emperor knew of Christ. If you're in Rome, there's not a person inside of Rome that didn't know about Christ, because they had to have known, because you have Rome taking over Jerusalem. What was it in the scriptures when David said, I have it on my shirt, remember the children of Edom, and I'm paraphrasing, because the children of Edom came through and they desecrated the Lord's people. And then this man, 67 years after the death of Christ, decided to have a boy castrated, and he decided to marry him publicly. And if you look at what's happening now, the spirit of this oppressor is still alive and well when it comes to this type of activity. It's called pederasty. And Epstein Island is a part of it. Donald Trump is a part of it. Like the leaders that are oppressors that are set over us, we follow these people. Let me get more scriptures about what we have going on. Salakia. Let me see. Let me get if I could. Let me get Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Yeah, 8 and 11. Because I've thought about it over and over, and I was like, and I was thinking, like, when I was in Florida, I went on this. I was in Miami, and there was this boat tour that me and my rib went on. And the announcer on the boat is pointing out all the houses that are on there. I believe he mentioned Fat Joe. He mentioned, like, I believe Adam Sandler. He mentioned Puff Daddy. And I believe at that mansion in Miami is where a lot of wild stuff with Puff Daddy happened. But that's just a mansion amongst many houses that is on that that waterfront in Miami. But Diddy is the one who was mentioned